I think a lot of women deal with a lot of guilt if they say no.
Yeah.
Right. So that puts the burden on them to just go, 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 go. And then you get into a cycle of being exhausted.
Welcome to the Hope and Hairspray podcast. I'm Rhodi Cate.
And I'm Kelly Osborn. Our minds will always believe what we tell them. This podcast will help give you truth, give you hope, and also give you a little hairspray to make it all stick.
Let's jump in.
Hello, hello. How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
Oh my gosh. Really good?
I'm actually really good.
Why is that?
I don't want to say it.
You're holding back already?
Yeah. I don't want to say that. Maybe I'm having a little bit of fun doing a podcast, even though last time and the time before that, I'm like, Kelly, but yeah.
Okay.
So Kelly is the reason that we're doing this podcast at Hope and Hairspray. And in all fairness, I gave you a really, really hard time. But
really, really hard time.
And I'm sure at the end, I probably won't love it, but I love talking to you. And I love what we're sharing with our audience for them to be able to, I don't know, live the best life, be the best version they can of themselves. All
for
of that.
Sure.
Yeah. So I feel like we have good experiences, ours from others.
Hard, easy.
Yeah.
You know, things have worked well. Right.
So, So yes, I'm good. How about you?
Good.
You ready for today?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm in a good space.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a good couple of weeks for me, and we're on episode 3, and you're still here. So I'm super excited about that. We've talked about this for years.
Yeah, but it was touch and go. I mean, I really thought a few days ago or
like,
whatever, I was like, maybe I'm just not. We're not going to continue on with this journey, Kelly.
But I believed in you, and we're better together. It wouldn't be nearly as fun.
We are better together.
If I was just sitting up here talking by myself.
Yes,
right?
and if you've been listening to us, you know that really our mission is all about being better together. We want to inspire women to be better together, and in order to do that, I'm just going to jump into the topic because I just found a lead and I didn't expect. Right,
love it.
To be better together, you have to start with yourself.
We always start with self.
Right. The truth about yourself, and just kind of where you are. And in this case,
now, like where you are
today,
right now, not tomorrow, not where you want to be, not where you're, oh my gosh, if I could just.
Right.
Nope. Right now.
Right. And so I think one of the reasons that women, kind of struggle is we're living at the speed of life.
Oh my
Our
goodness.
life is so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, I don't know, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, how has that changed? How much busier do you feel? Or how's that going on? What's your take on that?
I always get puzzled by this because we have every piece of technology to make our lives easier.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like they're not. Like that's not. Yeah. Yes, there's components that make it easier. So then do we think we can take more on?
Maybe.
You're like,
maybe.
and maybe because they're always ringing and they're always notifying us.
Yep.
We have to respond to our little device,
right?
Our computer, things like that.
First of all, I want everyone to realize.
Have a great,
Well, it is. Our phones are a computer. I mean, they do everything for us, right? And so we're carrying them around everywhere, whether they're big or small. They have the power to do a lot, and technology is here for our convenience. So I say this.
Say it again.
Technology is here for our convenience. So it's not here for your convenience. So this is something I had to tell my sister, and she's going to be listening to, maybe she won't listen. It's possible.
I hope she listens, just not right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know because it's like she doesn't have an attention span that.
But a lot of people do this.
This
There's
is right. That's right.
Expectation.
Yes. So her thing was that, when the phone rang, I'm like, the phone is for my convenience. I'm not always going to pick this up. Now, in fairness, I do believe that, right? It's for your convenience. And every time it rings, you do not need to pick it up. Should we say that again? Every time it rings, every time it beeps, you do not have to pick it up. However, on the other side, because there's always two sides, I realized that I wasn't picking up a lot with my sister. And that relationship for me is super important. So yes, I'm at the speed of life, but I made a conscious effort with my technology to say, you know what, that's an important relationship. I'm going to answer the phone and when she calls. And sometimes I'll answer, I'm like, I don't have time to talk. I just didn't want to not answer the phone.
You're important to me.
Right.
I just don't have a lot of time right now.
Right.
And sometimes there's a nice filter question when your technology comes off, you know, like with a phone call or a text notification. Hey, I've only got a minute. Is that something I can solve in that time? Right. It's just managing expectations. Right.
And it's just really, I think it's just telling someone where you are in that moment. I mean, in this case, it's literally, yes, I'm in line doing this, or, you know, I'm in the shop doing that, or I'm, you know, about to get on a conference call, which feels like we say all the time, about to get on a call. Anyway, so it's just the technology is something I think that makes it easier and more difficult, but you have to own it. You have to rule it. You have to make it work for you because we are so busy. I will say this. Another thing with technology is that the technology itself for me is stressful. Like,
how so?
Like it's not working. Like I can't get on. I can't get like it's
okay. Not the normal stressful.
No, it's
always going off. Right?
No, it's the other side. It's the logistics of it, right? How I can't take a picture. I can't send this, or mine it's too big, so it won't send. Or
so what do you do when it's stressful? When it doesn't do what you want it to do?
Well,
does it end up across the room?
No, I probably go to, you know, it's my husband. I'm like, hey, Matt, can you, you know, it's not doing this. And he's actually, I think he may be our family's IT guy. And he's like, I'm not an IT guy, but I'm like, he's patient. So he's patient. So what I have learned, because, you know, as I've said before, if you've been listening, is my first instinct is to panic. So especially with technology, because I don't feel like I know it really well.
So that helps you think clearly.
Yeah.
No,
it does not help me think clearly. And it gets crazy. I will say now, I'll take a breath and I'll be like, okay, what's wrong with the phone? Or
so you
what's
put yourself in a timeout?
I put myself in a timeout.
Yeah.
I wish I had more of them, which is kind of the purpose of this topic today, which is the busyness of life and what maybe causes it. But the answer is really, you do put yourself in a timeout. We need a time out. As women, the amount of work that women do, whether you are single or in a relationship, whether you have children or you don't, whether you're, you know, working as an entrepreneur, because Kelly's an entrepreneur. How many businesses? I don't know. Yeah,
more than children. we have.
You have 5 children, so
plus
that's a
their
lot.
spouses.
Oh, you mean you have
and grandkids?
You think you have more businesses than your children, your grandkids, and their spouses?
Yeah, some of them don't do a lot. They're just holding companies. But if you look up LLCs, I think there's more. But anyway,
wow, okay.
There's a lot.
See, I learned something about you today. Yeah. That's brilliant. Okay.
And it's just where we're at.
Okay, that's great. That's good to know.
And I think there's one more, but us. Yeah.
I know. I was going to say, and I added to that list. Just added to that. Okay, I almost got distracted. I'm not even sure where we are.
Out.
Yeah, time out.
You need to take a pause. How do you take a pause? Like, how do you do that personally?
Well,
what does your pause look like?
I feel like small things can help, right? And so even stopping in the middle of the afternoon to literally have a cup of tea, like it's not much. But it is. We do not pause or slow down because the speed of life is coming.
Breakneck.
Exactly. But how many times is it not life or death? What I do is not life or death, right? We you know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not, you know, a fireman, or like one of your sons is a fireman, right?
Yes.
So those types of things, I used to work, you know, I worked in corporate America with a number of companies, and I had an amazing boss, Jenny, who I learned so much from. But she would always just say, it's just pizza. And I worked for a pizza company, so that connected. But, you know, she's like, it's just pizza. And then
Perspective,
right?
So sometimes that pause can give you perspective.
Right.
Right.
So we can pause. I mean, people when I hear someone a woman
Say that
say
again.
can't, we can.
We can.
We can
It's
pause.
a choice.
It is a choice. And when I hear people say they can't, I try not to say it out loud, but in my head I go, you can. It's a choice, right? Now, I think another technique to being able to pause isn't really maybe a pause, but it might be more your ability to say no. So I think another issue, so we've got technology. Another issue is our ability as women to say no.
Right.
It's 2 letters and it's scary.
So hard.
So hard for people. So hard for people. I think it's hard to say it. I think it's hard to hear it.
How can they reframe that though?
So the way I look at it, I would say it's easier, let's say, it's easier to say no when you are clear about what's important to you.
So what you're saying yes to.
Right. So it's like if you have a burning yes, you can say no to other things. When you're not clear about what's important to you, what you want to do, you just say kind of yes to everything, right? So it's good to have discernment. It's good for us to be picky.
Absolutely. And permission. I think a lot of women deal with a lot of guilt if they say no.
Yeah.
Right. So that puts the burden on them to just go. And then you get into a cycle of being exhausted. But when guilt funnels that, like, how do you manage through that? You said what is important to you.
Right.
Maybe that pause of reflection.
Yeah.
I mean, who takes time for that?
No, I don't. I mean, we don't, and we do. We feel the need to say yes. We feel that we don't have permission to do it. And then, but I think it really does. I mean, I think people don't understand how much easier it becomes to say no when you are clear, you understand your purpose, you understand the goals you're going after. That sounds super corporate-y, but you understand like what you're trying to do, right? Even as a mom, okay. So I have someone in my life in Denver. So she's my beautiful niece who, is just a new mom. And we talk quite a bit about just life and just, it's a different life for her, right? So she's learning all these things. Right. And the conversations lately have been, well, I'm used to doing this, I'm used to doing that. And all of a sudden I have an infant and I can't get things done. I said, okay, well, what's important to you? Well, her spending time with him and nurturing and raising him is important. And I said, so you need to look at what you're thinking is important. I mean, getting your checklist of to-dos, is that important? No, it took a while for you to maybe, he's just now starting, well, not just now, but the last month, solid foods, right? So it's a whole different experience. It takes time, right? Take that time and know that you are not doing the things you normally do because he is more important. And then it was like, okay, so he takes up time. What about your relationship with your husband? How are you prioritizing those things and how are you saying no? And so she's actually had to change her expectations a little bit. And she had to really look at her values. And what I loved was we did this exercise, which we do at our sabbaticals. Actually, we do quite a bit. It's making sure someone understands what's important to them and their values. So she and I did that. And what I loved, one of her values was quality. That was what she picked, the word.
What did she mean by that?
Well, first thing I was like, quality? I thought she would pick... Wow, I just judged her. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to judge you. I was like, wow, tell me more. I mean, like I expected.
Right. I don't think you judged her.
No, but I expected.
Thought, yeah.
I thought she would say, because that's the conversations we've been having, is simplicity. She wanted to make things simple and automate some things so that she had more time. And the way she explained it, because she's so good at those things, she said, well, I want quality with my son and my husband, even work. And so that's what I'm going after. And so I know I need to pull back on certain things, but my litmus test is the fact that have I been able to spend quality time with girlfriends or, whatever. So it made sense. Now, one of her actions to get quality will be simplicity. Like she's going to simplify. She actually uses the word also automation because, and you love automation.
I
right?
love that word.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
a great word.
It
It's
is.
underutilized. So, but her thing is like, how do I get automated? And one of the things that happened once, she was talking about, I don't eat lunch very well. She's very healthy. She's actually a nutrition major in college. And she said, I'm just lunch. I do great at dinner. We do great at breakfast, but lunch just doesn't happen. And they, of course, work from home. And being who I am, asked, well, what about the leftovers from the night before? Because you know I love leftovers. I do.
Like leftovers.
Because it's easy. It automates. You don't.
Yep, I do not. Josh, our producer, lives, I think, for leftovers.
Me too.
So
I
would
that.
never come up with this concept. But what did you tell her? Like,
well, I didn't tell her anything. I just asked. I'm like, what do you do with the leftovers? And there was this long pause. And what I realized was I'm amazed. She's cooking she cooks every single night. I mean, except maybe they go out once a week or something. She cooks every single night for 2 people and they don't have any leftovers. And then she's like, well, if I cook a little bit more, I could have a salad the next day for lunch. I'm like, that sounds great. And I wish I lived in Denver because I would make you cook. You're cooking every night. Like I was floored on you cook every single night. Is that crazy? But she loves it. That's her yes. Right, gonna cook. That's her burning yes. Okay. So she says no to other things. So it was just kind of that automation. So her ability to understand being a new mom, she has to retrain, reframe, whatever you want to say, the way she's doing things, and this understanding of that her life is now busy in a different way, and she has to have new tactics, new strategies to be able to do the things she wants to do.
Sure. Becoming a mom, one of the biggest life transitions, right? And so you would automatically think something's got to go so that you can have room for
something else,
right? But we are constantly going through transitions.
We are.
Right? We're changing jobs. We're getting married. We're moving. We're changing roles. We're constantly, or we're feeling like a transition is coming, right? So when you can sit back and reflect, you had pointed something about values, kind of knowing the truth, because we always start with truth. What is important to me?
Right.
Like just that reflective time of, wow, I'm in a new phase, or I want to be in a new season.
Right.
To what is important to me. And sometimes values are that they're such a bridge to the next phase of our life or the next step.
Right.
Right.
For me, I think values are the filter. And that's why we do it, and we do it at the sabbatical for that reason. It's because when you're clear about what your values are, you can say no to something that's not in alignment and giving you more space to say yes. And as busy as we get, my favorite saying is like, when your hair's on fire, right? When your hair's on fire, which is really a horrible expression, but I use it all the time.
Pants? Can we go with pants?
No, it's your hair. Your hair is on fire.
I think in the Midwest we use pants a lot.
No, your hair's on fire. When your hair's on fire and you don't know what to do and you're kind of in the middle of things, and that's the busyness of life, things like values ground you. Right? You don't have to think.
They're our fire extinguisher.
Yeah, right. How can you think if your hair's on fire? You don't. Right. You don't you don't want someone to think you want to take care of that, right?
So you better know.
Right. That helps you.
You better know what your values are.
Because it'll help you. It's just easy.
It's to me, you're kind of describing almost like a bank account too. I mean, we choose what to spend our money on, right? Spend, and at a point we get cut off, like bank account. The old adage of if you still have checks, there's still money in the account.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Let me explain.
Oh.
So checks are these little squares of paper.
I don't know.
I don't know how long they are.
Rectangle. It's a rectangle.
Yeah. And then you fill in who the money is going to. So it's like money, but it's not money. Then you sign it, and then you give it to somebody.
Very true. I ran into that recently of a 30-year-old. Literally,
Yeah. What do I do with the check?
Okay. Back up the train.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if
okay.
we do that naturally with like, okay, debit card, let's go with debit card, right?
Yeah.
Spend, right? Limit. So values are kind of like, this is your budget, right? Like I
see that. Yeah.
I'm going to use these to get where I want.
Right.
Right. But if you don't know those, if you don't know what's in your account, right, you're going to be in trouble. Right. You're going to be spending on things that I have no idea if you have no budget. Right. If you just spend haphazardly, you get to the end of the month and be like, well, here I am again.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you get busy. So again, your life is busy. And so then what do you do?
Survival.
Yeah.
Right. You're just keeping your head above water. That's a great question.
You were a single mom.
Twice.
So talk about that. What was that like from a busyness of life and survival? Where was your head?
Wow. So you have different priorities, right? So it's all about managing my priorities. So I've got to figure out what they are, what they were. Okay. Our goal right now is to get through college, right? So I was a single mom till my son was in preschool. And I was in college at the same time, right? So it's how that. And then I was a single mom again when I had twins that started college, right? So, okay, our goal is to get them through. Oh, wow. They were both to get through college. It was just different people.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I didn't realize they'd have that in common. But yeah, okay.
Wow,
College and,
right?
and
college
single
just
moms.
happened for me and then for our twins. And so just to get through that, I had to be very clear because there wasn't a big budget. Right. I may have only had 3, I call them big rocks. We do a lot with that is what were my big rocks. And maybe
meaning your priorities, your important things.
Those are my priorities. Getting through school, everybody's safe, healthy, and well cared for.
Okay.
Right. Those were, and sleep, if I could get a little bit of sleep. Right.
Yeah.
Because sleep is that's a big rock for me.
Right.
I can't run at the speed I run without getting the sleep that I get. That's super important. So this is a very personalized exercise for everyone. There's no two people that will have the same values.
No.
My husband and I use this when we do a planning retreat every year.
Right.
So we have our categories and we do values attached to that category even. So you can be as specific or as broad as you want.
Right.
But they got to help you achieve
what you're going for.
Yeah. Right?
Well, while we're on the topic of values, what did you and I do not that long ago?
Oh, my goodness. So when we were forming Hope and Hairspray, we knew values are big for us. So we've got to figure out, do our values align? Because we have some very big differences.
Absolutely.
Right. And which we lean into for what we're accomplishing. But our core needs to be very similarly aligned.
Or even maybe think of it, we needed to make sure that we agreed that these were our values. And if we remember, what did we end up doing? We were clear. You shared, these are my personal values that were important to you. These are my personal values. What are our values of Hope and Hairspray? And the reason we did that is because we knew that someone would come to us and say, hey, can you do this? And Kelly and Rhodi, were like, we want to help.
Absolutely.
Right.
How can we help?
So yeah, it's not that but it's not coming from
our compass.
It is. It's our ability.
Let's come back. Is that pointing us in the direction? Because it's all about moving you closer to your goal.
Right.
Is that moving you towards it or away from it?
Right.
One or the other. We want to be constantly helping you become better and move closer to the goal. You got to know what the goal is and you got to know what your values are. And we were pleasantly surprised. I don't know why we'd be surprised.
Why would be surprised?
But we have some differences.
That's fair.
Right. You're super creative. I'm not very creative. You're very strategic. I'm very executing. She's a good
makes
planner.
Us better. That doesn't make us different. But
it is what makes us better. So we can have the differences, but core values do need to align if you're aiming at the same target.
Right.
And
in our case, so we use it for the busyness of life, is we didn't want to be busy saying yes to things that we don't want to do. We wanted to make sure because we might be strong women that are opinionated. And so we wanted to make sure that, and so we do that up front. So it helps with our ability to understand each other and communicate and maybe negate down the road, like, hey, this is where we are. This is what we said. We need to have a conversation about changing it. But for us, it was okay. It was a tool for our to make sure that we weren't busy doing the wrong things.
Absolutely.
So the last kind of tool I use for the busyness of life is the to just try to stay engaged in the moment. How many times are we walking and talking on the phone? How many times are you at your event? You're either in corporate example. You're in one meeting and you are
in another
meeting. Yeah, that's right. Oh, especially now.
Oh,
with you're on.
You could probably be in 3.
Yes, and they are, and they're not paying attention. And I'm
present.
No, right.
You need to be present.
Right. Be here now. Be
Yeah.
here now.
Yeah.
And then, or don't be there. Like, I mean, say no to the meeting. If you really, this is not working, say no to the
That's
meeting.
hard in corporate. It's hard in corporate, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I haven't
you
been
know
there.
what? You know me and my positivity. I like to be positive. I like to think of that. That's really important to me. And it's how I kind of show up. But I believe it's not as hard as we think it is. I think we make it hard and we don't say no. And I mean, I have never been
So true.
fired for saying no to a meeting. Just FYI. Just want to put that out
Wow.
there. Never been fired for saying no to a meeting.
Wow.
And I've never been fired to say, hey, what's going to happen at this meeting, right? You know, anyway, so the point is like being
Do I
engaged.
need to be there?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But being engaged in the moment wherever we are. And that can be engagement from the perspective of getting something done or just taking time for yourself, that break. We started with a cup of tea. You know, when you're when you're walking, can you look up and notice that the leaves are changing?
Sure.
Or it's springtime and the leaves are
That
budding
pause.
or whatever, you know, or there's clouds, you know.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing
One
that?
thing that I've done in the past few years, we have a really long commute.
You do.
Right. I'm an hour in the car every day that I come into work, and it's no sound. Like that
Way to
is
stay engaged.
Right. I want to be just in prayer or thinking about things. Like I've got to figure out things through, but just turning that off. Sometimes you just need to turn technology off.
Right.
Right. And I go through a lot of dead zones. So phone calls aren't always the greatest, but
So
that's okay.
So whether or not you intentionally mean it, you know, you get a little help along the way to turn that off.
Absolutely.
So that's great.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
I know my guardrails.
Right.
And so just know, maybe I just need to be where I'm at right now
Mm-hmm.
without a lot of noise. Right. We're so distracted.
We're so distracted.
Right.
So how do you stay present in the moment? I know a lot of people are moving to mindfulness, and that can, I think it depends on your experience with it. If you grew up with it, certainly the generations that the younger women in coming into business or been in business 5 or 6 years, they're much more open to that. They know how to do that. Sometimes I run across women who maybe at the second half of their career, they don't really understand what that means or how to be mindful. It sounds so hard. I'm supposed to meditate and be calm, and it's not. It's just staying where you are and acknowledging you're here. I'm outside. Hey, it's like I'm outside. There are trees. There is sun and what's that thing? Sky, right? Or I'm at a basketball game and these are the kids or whatever.
Right.
So it's just a matter of being intentional. So sometimes I use the word intentionality versus mindfulness. Sometimes that helps people, but it's like if you can know what to say no to, that helps you, really understand, kind of slow down.
Sure.
And if you understand that you can be engaged in the moment, that can help you kind of slow down in the busyness of life. And that's important for us. That's important for us to do.
I love that. So one thing you'll learn about us, we're Hope and Hairspray.
We are.
What practical tools can we give to you to help make it stick? So we always ask our listeners, what is one thing you can do this week? You gave us 3 different things.
Right.
Can you figure out what your values are? Go online and order a deck of value cards.
Or
right?
just stop and think about what's important to you.
You can think about what's important to you. But if you need some prompting, those are a great tool. Be present. Like think of, because it's all about habits, right? So we'll start to naturally do something and we'll be like, okay, I'm not going to get distracted right now. That's a big one for me. I get pulled in a lot of different directions. So they can, something this week, I'm going to figure out what my values are. Say no.
Like maybe say no once. Just be
once.
simple. Just this week when you
Not
want
to ice cream or anything like that, right?
when you want to say, you feel like you want to say no, but you're about to say yes. Stop and just say no. That's just one time, right? If you want to do it, obviously say yes. Yeah,
you won't get fired.
You won't. Yeah,
you won't die. Try it.
Try.
Okay.
Just one thing, one small thing.
One small thing. Until next time, hope and hairspray.